Welcome to week 7 of Education 406 Integrated Reading. We're going to take a few minutes to review what our tasks and outcomes are going to be for week 7 and also take a few minutes to discuss a topic that's not in your Strategies That Work text, but an important instructional strategy or approach to remember as you get closer to your own classroom. So it's an important strategy that I hope you'll be able to take something away from after reviewing the reading and strategies, and just take note of another strategy that would help your students with reading comprehension. So we're going to take a minute and look at our syllabus so that we can see what our learning outcomes are going to be this week. We're in week 7 already. So we only have a few learning outcomes as we get towards the end of our course, but you still have some investigations to do with those outcomes. So you're going to investigate reciprocal teaching for reading comprehension instruction, which also connects to another overall course learning outcome here, and design a visual tool anchor chart for the inquiry framework in reading research instruction. So your assessments that you have in place to be able to measure those weekly learning outcomes will again be your discussion board and your interactive notebook, and your interactive notebook will include your anchor chart and your Strategies That Work Chapter 14, as well as your response for reciprocal teaching. So all of this is either going to be your discussion board or in your interactive notebook for this week, just so you know that those are your two primary places. So going back to our course, we go into our weekly content, you'll be able to see that we've opened up week 7. So in week 7, you're going to see several things, and these are more than what you typically would see because, as I said, reciprocal teaching is a strategy that is a high-yield instructional strategy, gets results when implemented with fidelity, but it's not in your Strategies That Work textbook necessarily. But it is something else that I want you to know. So your discussion board this week, after reading chapter 14, there's a piece in there at the beginning of the chapter that speaks to essential questions and enduring understandings. So once you read chapter 14, go back to that section at the beginning of the chapter, and I want you to respond to these 4 questions or prompts. Define both essential questions and enduring understandings in your own words. Do not tell me what the textbook says. What is it? What do you know that it means? Explain the difference between the two. And when you're explaining the difference between the two, you can almost also explain the connection because they are connected, but there is a difference. Give at least one example of an essential question and an example of an enduring understanding. Make sure that they are connected. So for example, if your essential question is going to be about animal adaptations in their habitat, your enduring understanding should align to that. And so just make sure that you're not giving me an essential question on one topic and an enduring understanding on a different topic. They should be connected. And then share your experience with essential questions and enduring understandings. Have you seen them in your schools? Whether as you being the student in schools and a field experience that you've been in, or as a TA, what is your experience? My assumption is that if there have been experiences with that, it may not have been meeting the expectation of what an essential question and enduring understandings are. I know that it is usually district expectations that essential questions are posted, but I don't know how much training and support teachers get in how to write essential questions or identify enduring understandings. And so oftentimes we'll go into classrooms and we'll see essential questions, but they're really just kind of learning objectives. So it's important to know and reflect on what have we seen so far, because that's what we're learning based on what we've seen. And so now that we're having some more input based on our textbook, what are we seeing and how is that aligning to what we know should be happening? So that is your discussion board prompt for the week. Then the rest of your information is going to be around reciprocal teaching. And so I have several resources for you, and I have put them in here in the order that I want you to review them. So first I want you to look at this infographic for reciprocal teaching, and it's just kind of a simple pictorial way to take a first glance into what is reciprocal teaching. It is a document that you can use and you can keep as a reference that will just kind of allow you to put some images to that. It's important that we're putting those non-linguistic representations, those images that align with the content that we're learning, because our brains remember that image, that vision. And so it's important that we have that. And so the point of an infographic is that it's providing you with that image to partner with. So as that's loading, we'll go back here and look at this is an article, Hands-on Reciprocal Teaching, a Comprehension Technique. So this is an article that I want you to read after you've looked at the infographic. And then I have a couple of videos. This video is a very brief a Powtoon video, if anyone has ever seen that. It's a website that you go to create your own videos. And so this one was already made. So I just want you to this is probably about 2 minutes long. I want you to watch this for just kind of these first 3 documents are your informative pieces that are going to explain to you what it is, what goes into it, what it involves. And then once you have those, there are 2 videos that I want you to watch. So this is the same lesson, it's just part 1, part 2. The video is a little bit dated, but it does show you what an end result is when you're implementing reciprocal teaching in your classroom. And so all of these are kind of a package to provide you with the best quick pieces of information without having to go through an intensive training, but just some quick information about reciprocal teaching. That is a pretty big file. It is still not loaded, but that's okay. We can come back to it. So the other thing to remember, we talked about in your syllabus, is that, so now that we've looked at our infographic, we have read our article, we've watched our videos and our lesson, we need to make sure that we are answering our questions in our interactive notebook. So remember that your interactive notebook is in week 1. So if you go to your week 1 folder and then you click on the link for your interactive notebook, it will take you into the original where you're going to copy and paste. And we'll go down to week 7. So as you are looking at chapter 14, where we're talking about the inquiry framework, so you talked about essential questions and enduring understandings in your discussion board. And then the very next piece of the chapter talks about inquiry framework. So I want you to be able to speak to what that is. So you are designing an anchor chart again as it relates to inquiry framework. So take a look. There are several parts that are going to be involved in this, so please read carefully. Being sure that you include the actionable items under the phases. So you want to make sure that as you're looking at the chart that's there for your reference in your book, you want to make sure that you're including not just the phase, but also those pieces underneath the phase. You want to make sure you're also including your teacher actions and your student actions. And then this will be created in one anchor chart. You can do it however you'd like. So it's really a design it as you like anchor chart. Make sure that you include a visual or an image to represent each of the 4 phases. So for each of the 4 phases, you have the actionable items that are under that, your teacher actions, your student actions, and then your image for that phase. So please make sure that you have all those pieces. Then, after you finish that, you have your reciprocal teaching tasks. So in the folder I just showed you, you have the infographic, the article, and 3 videos. Once you've read and reviewed and watched all the materials, I want you to use this answer space in this table to identify and define your own words the 4 roles or areas of reciprocal teaching, and connect them with a visual image to represent the task, and connect it with evidence from the videos that you're watching of the lesson. So let's check in. Oh, we're quite there. So you will find in your infographic and in that short video and in your article that we've defined, or there have been defined, roles for reciprocal teaching. So I want you just to identify those, one in each row, and then define each of those in your own words. So what is happening? When someone is doing this role, what are they doing? What is happening? What is the end in mind? What is a visual or image that you can connect to that role? If you are implementing reciprocal teaching in your classroom, it's important to have that visual representation so that students can connect that with the role, so that, you know, when students see maybe an anchor chart or a poster around the room that has that image, they know that that represents that role in reciprocal teaching. And then once you have all that, you're going to make your connection from the video. Again, this is the two-part video within your course content folder. That's where you're going to pull this in. So talk to me a little bit in these sections about one of the roles is summarizer or summarizing. So where did that happen in the video? Let's see if we finally got it. So this infographic is just helping you to explain what it is, what is the definition, what is the research behind it, and why do we do it, because that's important. We don't just want to pick random strategies, we want to know why. Here's some more research behind it and some very general information, but it's a quick glance to get some information. So again, making sure that you're using all of that information as you complete this part of your interactive notebook. So at this point, we have worked through your discussion board and your interactive notebook, which includes your anchor chart, your Chapter 14 response, and your reciprocal teaching response. So if you get through any of these, or you get to anything and you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. If you end up doing any additional research for your reciprocal teaching information, I would love for you to share those links in your interactive notebook so that we can build some more resources together. Thank you so much, and have a great week 7.